soft rain, and distant traffic. At midnight, the city never truly sleeps. Behind every bright window, someone is dreaming. Behind every dark window, someone may be watching. And sometimes, the face you see is not the face underneath. This happened to a young man named Ethan. He lived alone on the 23rd floor of an old apartment building in the heart of the city. Ethan worked late every night. He came home after midnight, ate cold food, turned on the lights, and listened to the rain. His life was quiet, too quiet, until one rainy night, he saw a woman standing outside his building. She was wearing a long white coat, her hair was wet, and she was barefoot.
Excuse me, are you all right?
I think someone is following me.
Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. Ethan looked behind her. The street was empty, only the rain was falling.
Do you need help?
The woman looked at him. Her face was pale and beautiful, too beautiful.
Could I stay somewhere safe tonight?
Ethan hesitated. He knew he should say no, but the woman was shaking, and something in her eyes made him feel sorry for her. So he opened the door.
Come in.
Door closes. The rain becomes quiet. That night, Ethan gave her a towel and a glass of water. She told him her name was Lena. She said she had just moved to the city and had nowhere to go. But when Ethan asked where she had lived before, she smiled and said nothing. Later, Lena stood in front of the bathroom mirror. She touched her face slowly and carefully, as if checking whether it was still there. Ethan noticed her strange behavior, but he said nothing. That night, he slept badly. At 3 a.m, he woke up. He heard a strange sound, like a brush moving across paper. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Ethan sat up. The apartment was dark. The sound came from the living room. Then he heard Lena whisper.
Not yet.
Ethan stopped.
Not yet.
He slowly opened the door. The living room was empty, but the bathroom light was on and the door was slightly open. Ethan stepped inside. The mirror was covered with steam. Someone had been standing there. He wiped the glass with his hand and froze. There was something written on the mirror. 3 words, "Do not look." Ethan took 1 step back. Then he heard a noise behind him. A soft laugh. He turned around. Lena was standing in the doorway. Her hair covered half of her face.
You should be sleeping.
I heard something.
It was only a dream.
Ethan stared at her. There was something wrong with her smile. It was too still, too perfect. The next morning, Ethan went to work, but he could not forget what he had seen. That evening, he returned home earlier than usual. The apartment was dark. Lena was nowhere to be seen. He called her name, but there was no answer. Then he noticed something on the floor, a small white piece of paper. No, not paper. It was soft, thin, and strangely warm. Ethan picked it up. It looked like human skin. He dropped it at once. His heart began to race. Then he heard a sound from the bedroom. Scratch, scratch, scratch. He walked toward the door. The room was locked.
Lena?
There was no answer. He tried the handle. It was locked. Then, from inside, he heard her voice. But it did not sound like Lena anymore. It sounded deeper, older, hungrier.
Please don't open the door.
Ethan stepped back. Then the door opened by itself. Slowly, inside the room was a woman. She was sitting with her back toward him, wearing nothing but a white shirt. In her hands was a human face. She held it like a mask. Ethan could not breathe. The woman slowly lifted the face and placed it over her own. Then she pressed it against her skin. Scratch. She moved her fingers around the edges. Scratch, scratch. And suddenly, she looked exactly like Lena again. She turned around and smiled.
You weren't supposed to see me.
Ethan ran, but before he reached the door, something struck him from behind. He fell, and his vision became dark. The last thing he heard was a whisper. Ha!
Everyone wears a face.
Silence. The next morning, Ethan's neighbor heard a strange noise from his apartment. She called the police. The door was unlocked. The apartment was empty. There was no sign of Ethan, no blood, no broken window, nothing, except for one thing. On the bedroom wall, someone had painted a picture. It showed a young man sleeping. His eyes were closed, and his mouth was open. Above his chest stood a woman in white. She was holding something red in her hands, a human heart, soft heartbeat. 3 days later, a new tenant moved into the apartment. She was young, beautiful, and quiet. The building manager asked her name. She smiled.
My name is Lena.
That night, a light came on in the bathroom. She stood before the mirror and slowly touched her face. Then she began to peel, not the whole face, just a small corner. Her skin lifted like wet paper. Underneath, there was nothing human, only darkness. She smiled at her reflection and whispered.
This face is getting old.
She reached into a small black bag. Inside were many faces, young faces, old faces, men and women. Some were smiling, some were crying, some still had their eyes open. She chose one, a beautiful face. She placed it gently on the table. Then she began to paint. Red lips, soft cheeks, bright eyes, a perfect smile. Outside, the city was still awake. Cars moved through the rain. People walked beneath their umbrellas. Thousands of faces passed one another.